In this video, I'm going to talk you through how to set up our video switcher that we're going to use in church for live streaming. I have it here in front of me. It's the ATEM Mini ISO. I'm going to show you what cables to connect to it, how to plug them in, and then what the buttons do in order to just do the basic camera operation. First off, let's plug it in. So if we take a look at the back here, we've got power, network, that's a USB connection. We have a video out, 4 video in, and 2 microphone inputs. We use pretty much all of those, and I'll go through and plug it in now. Let's plug in the sound first. So this little cable is from the sound desk. It's unique, can only go in 2 slots, and we always plug it into mic 1. So plug that in there. We then plug camera 1 into input number 1. And we do that, dropping it. Then plug camera 2. And plug camera 2 into input number 2, nicely labelled. The third input source we have is this black unlabelled cable that is coming from the computer at the front of church, which will be sending video to us. So that goes into number 4. We then have the monitor, which is on the table in front of me. That goes to the HDMI out. We have a little hard drive here, which we use to record the service. So that plugs into our USB there. We then have the network cable, which is what we need for streaming. So that plugs in to the network connector there. And then finally, we've got the power cable, which plugs into there. And we do the little thing up there to hold it in place. So there we go, all plugged in and working. Now it's connected up, it's lit up. You can see we've got a few little lights on there. I will turn the monitor on, which is around the back here, and we'll be able to see the display. Give that a moment to start up. So you've got a number of buttons on here. Most of them you won't need to touch. We'll cover the basic ones now and what they do and also what you see on the screen. The screen display then will go top to bottom, left to right. Preview we actually won't be using right now. That would show you, that would allow you to see what a camera is seeing before it's on the live stream, but we're actually not going to use that for the time being. Program, which is this top right one, is the live stream. That's what's going out live. We then have 4 camera views. So these are showing the camera, in this case this is the right hand camera, the central camera. We've not got anything on 3. 4 is not connected right now, but that would be connected to the computer at the front, so that would be showing the videos that we use. Media player we're not using. We have a little panel here which is showing us the live stream status. When we're streaming, that would say on air and will tell you that there's data going through. This is the recording. It tells me how much space is left on my little device, and it will say that it's recording when it is recording. The final panel on the right here is the audio. That's showing me currently that I've got something plugged into mic 1. You can see that's slightly brighter, and then the output, which is going to the live stream. These will show levels, and you want those levels to be in the yellow section. That's not in your control. That's up to whoever's operating the PA desk to do that. So onto the device itself. Right now I can see program has got the central camera, it's camera 2. That's because the camera 2 button is lit up here. If I press a different button, then the program view shows me camera 1, back to camera 2. There's nothing on 3 at the moment, but if I switch to 4, that would show me the view from the computer at the front. You can see what they're going to see already, so you know whether somebody's in camera view or not, because you can see it there obviously, or you can also look up and see it for real. So just pressing those buttons quickly switches between the camera views. Now, if you can tell on the video, when I switch between cameras, it just flicks over straight away. No, there's nothing there, nothing interesting happening. What we can do is we can set the video switcher to do a slightly more interesting transition. Here it's set to cut. Cut, it just switches view straight away. If I put it onto auto, you've got a range of different transitions you can use. By default, it's currently got mix lit up, and that's the one we would tend to use. And that means if I press a different camera view, it quickly fades one out and the other one in. If I do it again, there's a fade. The duration of that is here on these buttons. So you've got half a second, 1 second, 1.5 and 2. It's defaulting to 1. That's probably okay. If I switch it to half a second, then there's a quicker fade. If I switch it to 2, then there's a much slower fade like that. You can see that happening. Probably 1 second or half a second is likely to be what we want to have. There are other effects you can use. You can have different, you can do things like that where it slides across, or it does top to bottom, things like that. We're not going to likely to want to use those. I think the fade is probably sufficient for what we want to use. You can also control what you see on the screen if you want to change that. So at the moment, the video out on this far right section is MV, which is multi-view. That's what I've got on screen right now. You could press 1 to 4 to see an individual camera view like that. So that's camera 1, camera 2. There's nothing on 3 or 4 at the moment, but if that was the video, if the computer was connected, you'd see that on 4. Go back to multi-view, or you can actually just see what the current live camera view is. Multi-view is probably the most useful generally. So the buttons I haven't touched, we're not going to look at those right now. The other one that you need to be aware of, just so that it's always on the right value, is this on here is setting where the audio is coming from. Now we always have it set to mic 1 because that's the cable I connected from the desk. So that should always be on mic 1, and that should happen by default. The other things you need to be aware of then are the top right here. We have the stream control and the record control. When we get to the point of wanting to go on air, you press the on air button. That will then on the screen, it will show you on air. And as long as it says OK and the data rate there has got some reasonable value in, it's going to vary depending on what we're showing. It's sort of showing 5 at the moment, 5.5. That's probably about right. The on-air button's lit up on there as well, and we also want to record. So we are going to simultaneously record the service to the hard disk, which is there, and send it out on air so that we can have a backup copy and put it on YouTube afterwards. So the record button's pressed, it's lit up on here, and you can see on the screen it's saying record, and it's doing a timer there of how long you've been recording for. It also tells you how much recording time you've got left on the hard disk that's there. And then when the service is finished, you stop that and turn the stream off, and that stops it. In between, the main thing you need to be aware of is watching what's happening with whoever's leading the service and being aware of what the video is, so that you can switch camera or video screen views depending on whether somebody's speaking at the front and needs to then switch over to the video, or the video is coming to an end and we need to be aware that when the person at the front is about to start speaking, in which case you should be switching between a camera view and the video. That's it. That's the basics of getting it up and running. When it's all finished, you just unplug it all again. So there's no shutdown process. So I just remove that and unplug all the cables from the back. It then goes away into the drawer at the back. Hopefully that gives you an idea about how it's all set up.